I'm thrilled that we're now in our third session, and the first two sessions have gone well. There may have been some things which passed you by because the sessions went a little, there was a lot of material, but the recordings are available, and some additional notes were sent out, so we can review them slowly. We don't have the advantage that we had in the actual 1-month training, in which we could really take whatever time was needed to get a full understanding through back and forth discourse. So let's see how we'll continue, and maybe we'll have some follow-up sessions for more discussion later on. We don't have to limit ourselves to 6 sessions for that matter. Anyway, Niranjan, I've had many years of experience of this extremely beautiful friend and brother, and now for the last few years also of his wonderful wife, Tapasuda. Is Tapasuda with you, by the way, Niranjan? You're on mute.
She was, but I think she's just gone out of the room now.
Okay, well, when she comes, let us see her for a moment, because she's been absolutely instrumental in the last few years how the Naturopathy Center has been running in Anandanagar. She's one of the very few women in the world who is completely comfortable and inspired and happy to be just in Anandanagar, along with the Didis and Dadas who are happy there. So Niranjan is very hardworking, extremely sincere, has developed a lot of knowledge. He's become sufficiently fluent in both Hindi and Bengali to converse with the local people and the people who come from different parts of India. Although he is not from India, his father was from Calcutta. Mother is from Germany. He was raised in England, and so he's a big Khichdi. He's a hodgepodge. And he's very highly respected among the acharyas who know of him, which means all the acharyas working in Nagar and so many other acharyas. And not only that, but our center is one of the few places in the world where Dadas and Didis of different persuasion are welcome to come without any limitation, and it has worked very well. And it is a place of refuge and homogeneity and universal thought. Very happy to say. So Niranjan, with your great experience, which I so much respect, please take it away, Jose.
Thank you. Okay, I'll start my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so we're going to be talking about consultation and prescription, and especially Baba's guidelines on how to be a good yogic and naturopathic practitioner, also using the naturopathic principles to help us gain some ideas how we can improve our process of consultation and prescription. So there's quite a lot to cover. Like, I don't know if we'll manage everything this time, but I'll give it a go. And like Dada said, maybe there'll be a chance for more classes in the future as well. So, okay, these are Baba's words, first of all. So the object of the art of healing is to cure a patient both physically and mentally. So the main question is not to uphold any particular school of medical science, rather the key task is the welfare of the patient. I think, it's the beginning, first couple of lines in yogic treatment and natural remedies, and it really important points about physical aspect, mental aspect of healing. Then in Human Society, Part 1, Baba says, a helpless person, no matter how great his or her financial, social, or intellectual capacity, considers a doctor to be a ray of light in the darkness or a lifeboat which can save him or her from drowning. Of all the doctors you have come across, how many are idealistic and beautiful? So this is really our goal, to be that ray of light, to be idealistic as Baba would want. If you visit a doctor, he or she will prescribe strong medicines for a light illness. He or she will force some patent medicine down the patient's throat. I'm referring particularly to allopaths. The most disconcerting thing is that they frequently diagnose a case by guesswork. An examination of the blood, stool, or urine often reveals that their diagnosis was totally wrong. Yet the patient depends on the doctor's guesswork, and as a result is required to swallow medicine after medicine. Is this not deplorable? What a cruel joke that doctors do such things to helpless patients. Baba mentions about importance of a clear diagnosis. So actually, before anyone joins our center, joins a program of treatment, we always ask for that they share any medical reports that they have, any previous reports from even from years back, so that we can get a clear understanding of their disease, that we don't need to be guessing. And then, okay, we'll go to the health questionnaire. So this is usually I'll go to the last page first in the health questionnaire, because this is looking at any disease which has been declared by the doctor. And really, the health questionnaire is so important to get as much information as we can. So many symptoms. Actually, the more symptoms that we can get, the better. The more symptoms we can get a clearer idea, the more we can work with. So always ask students to fill this in as much detail as possible when they come. And that sometimes they do that, but sometimes there are gaps, and you have to always keep asking questions, further clarifying questions, like, do you have mucus sometimes? What is the form of the mucus? Then they'll say maybe, yes, sometimes I do have that, even though they didn't mark it because they didn't consider it so important, or they went through the form quickly. So it's really important to get as much details as possible. A number of these things are showing signs of toxins in the body, so that congestion, cough, mucus, skin problems. So it's really important to understand the underlying issues. Other thing is, if we're able to get a number of symptoms, a list of symptoms which the person is having, then we can, over time, we can see any changes in those symptoms. It will make the treatment much better. We want to be seeing some change. Maybe mostly, of course, we're happy if there's a decrease in the symptoms, but even if there's an increase, that can be a sign that toxins are starting to move. It's not, you have to reassure the person that that can be a sign that toxins are moving and they're trying to come out, and that's why the symptoms are increasing. It's not a bad thing, but of course we want to, with these healing symptoms, we want to reduce the discomfort, of course, as much as possible. So trying to speed up the process of detoxification.
Can I throw something in here, Niranjan?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this is super important what Niranjan said just now, because if a patient, there are patients that have problems according to their diagnosis and according to tests in the hospital, but they have no symptoms at all that they tell us about. And that is the most difficult sort of case, because then we are unable to perceive if progress is being made while the treatment is going on over the days and weeks. So we want to pull out by any means any problems that that patient has, and the more the better. Then, so we'll ask, I mean, Niranjan will get into this, what other kind of questions we can ask to bring those things out. But this is really a vital point of the consultation, to bring out as many different small or large problems as we possibly can. And then we can monitor whether those conditions are getting better or not. And this will, and most important, this will inspire the patient that she or he is getting better by seeing the different changes which are taking place. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dada. Also, they may be coming with some problem, but it's not clear. Like they may just have, like their main issue may be a pain, like pain in a joint. We don't know how damaged that joint is, so how easy it will be to treat. There's a good chance, of course, that it can get better, but we want to get as many conditions so that we can help. So we're, you know, the common one, stomach ailments, skin problems, mental aspects as well. So if we can get a whole list of issues, then we can confidently tell them, yes, definitely you're going to get improvement with these conditions. So that's also important. And yeah, it's important to also keep record of these changes. So as well as like the vital signs like change in weight, change in blood pressure, maybe sugar readings, as well as that, then also things like these, how is the cough progressing, how is the mucus changing, how's the skin feeling. So you can keep a day-by-day record when you do the consultation to see the changes that are taking place. So yeah, if we look at this skin and itchiness, so these are very common issues. Many people have this dry skin. They may not have written it as their main disease, but it's very common that they may have dry skin, or this itchiness is very common as well. So then it's definitely, you know, something very clear that you can work with. And often they're not drinking enough water. That's a, you know, clear sign when there's this dryness. That's often the case. They're not drinking enough water. So you're starting to make links with the issues they have and their lifestyle as well. This dandruff, that can often be due to overuse of shampoo or soap in the hair. So that's also something to take into account. And then if they have these issues, so also which treatments you would look towards. So things like mud to help draw out the toxins. Sunbath is a good one for the skin. And purifying the blood is very important. So using especially bitter herbs or bitter foods as well is really good for purifying the blood and will help their skin condition. Then another aspect of getting all these symptoms and getting them to fill out this form, as well as the daily consultations, is for them to get a deeper awareness of their own health. They're starting to become aware that these things are important. It's not that this has not so much significance, or it's just something that I have dry skin, but it can be something that's, you know, cured by detoxing and lifestyle changes. And that self-awareness is not just about physical conditions, but also their emotional state, mental state. That's something that you'll hopefully get a better understanding also through speaking with them, through observation, and then slowly sharing some things along that line. We talked previously about this kapha, vata, pitta tendencies in people. So this is something that is really good to look out for and give some guidelines based on that. So yeah, things like this irregular, in the top, so irregular menstruation as well. It might be, just might be a mild thing, or it might be a more serious disease, but again, it's being aware of those things and then introducing asanas, all the things, others mentioned many of the things. So the asanas, diet is very important. Having alkaline food plays a major role. And also do's and don'ts, which are mentioned in yogic treatment. And sometimes it's very common that they're low in iron, and it may need some extra herbal supplements as well, herbal remedies that can help them, as well as the whole detox process. So yeah, we're really, you see, there's 3 points here: present diseases declared by a doctor, then other disturbing symptoms, and then other symptoms from the past. So we're really trying to get the full understanding and for them to bring out as much as possible from the past and the present, which will help us. And this 11th point is also really important, where they say, I'm especially concerned about. So if they've missed, something here, they haven't come up with it yet, they may still mention here that, okay, they're worried about their nervous system, even though it hasn't been declared as a disease. But and then you have to ask more questions. So what about the nervous system? Sometimes it's really they have some nerve issue, physical nerve issue, but it could be also more related with like the anxiety, depression, sleep, disturbed sleep, or yeah, they feel nervous. So you have to clarify these things. Sometimes they'll put liver, and you'll ask, so do you have liver disease? They say no, but I feel there's some problem. So that's probably the case, because they have some digestive issue, or they can sense something around their liver is not right. But the other doctors may not be picking up on this. It may not come up in test reports. So yeah, and it's they know their body. Usually they know their body better than anyone else, at least like what they're feeling. And so this is where it can come out. And we can pay attention to that. And finally, other relevant information. So we want as much information as possible. And you may be the one to fill in the gaps when they don't mention all the things. So, okay, I have a question for all of you. So if someone has nerve-related problems, what would you prescribe? What would be some of the important steps that the student needs to take to follow?
Here is Kamalesh saying cold treatments.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. So cold treatments are really important for strengthening nervous system. So that's like the cold packs, the spinal compress is a really good one, and mud is a very good cooling to the nervous system. Yeah, hip bath and sitz bath for the lower low regions. Anyone else?
Jyoti has written half bath.
Yeah, half bath is great. And that's why we do it, even if we don't have this, even for those who don't have this serious problem, but it helps in meditation because it's having that calming effect. And definitely it helps in more serious conditions as well. For sleep, before sleep, it's a great one. Baba recommends before sadhana, before asanas, before meals, after meals also, if there's serious digestive problems, and before sleep. So these are some of the times that half bath is really useful. Any other ideas?
Yeah, Kamalesh says sadhana, kirtan, and asanas, with an especial emphasis on kirtan.
Yeah, definitely. Meditation, if we can bring our mind to higher points, which are controlling the lower, have an effect on the lower chakras as well. So, and kirtan, yeah, it's just a all round great one for physical and mental problems. And then, of course, asanas are really important as well. So strengthen the nervous system. Asanas and exercise both. So the exercise also will strengthen the whole constitution of a person. It's really important if they have these problems. It depends how serious, like what level of exercise they can do, but it will have a very strong effect. And asanas, again, there's like Baba's given asanas which are really good for the nerves. More serious cases such as paralysis, then there are asanas for that. Some easier to do than others, but so you always have to adjust according to the person. This time, place, and person is always important in the prescription.
If I can add,
yeah,
even our normal detox is extremely helpful in most cases of nerve problems. For example, somebody has a stroke, and the cause of the stroke is going to be in the brain, but essentially you have a slow movement of blood in the body, and in that includes in the brain. And so just as the intestines may become constipated, so the arteries can also become constipated in terms of their blood flow, and the same thing happens in the brain itself. So all of the treatments that we are doing, they're all going to have benefits directly or indirectly at least on this kind of condition, and so many others. But the ones which you all have been specifying and Niranjan's been highlighting, those are more directly related to the nerve system. But in many cases, the detoxing itself is the key. I've seen a lot of persons who had stroke that was really very, very important for them. Not only to get out of the symptoms of the stroke, but also to avoid having the stroke later. Usually it comes because of very bad lifestyle.
Yep, thank you, David. Related to what we were just talking about, so another question is how to help with people who have anxiety or depression. This is also quite common that people will put that they have some level of anxiety or depression. So how would you deal with those cases? Anyone's welcome to share their ideas.
Kamalesh, this is your specialty. And some one or two others who are here.
Namaskar. I guess in my experience, there's dealing with anxiety and depression in the moment if the person is experiencing it with you while you're trying to work with them. And then obviously then there's a longer term pattern of anxiety and depression, which is more of a disorder that goes across time. The two things, obviously all of the other treatments that go on in the wellness program will be of benefit, but particularly the things that I find most helpful in working with anxiety and depression, sort of mild to moderate, not maybe on the very severe end, is self-awareness around emotions and being able to accept the emotions as they're occurring in the moment while they're occurring, and then sort of participating in values-directed action, so doing things that matter to somebody, irregardless of how they might be feeling in the moment. Those three things together make a big impact on the disruption that anxiety and depression cause to somebody's life, in my experience.
Okay, thanks, Kamalesh, for sharing
Sorry,
that.
Kamalesh, what was the very last thing that you said? The last one or two sentences?
The last one, I'm not too sure which.
Something about helping others.
Oh, doing
Meaningful.
things that, yeah, connecting, helping people connect them with what's important to them in their life, so values, deep values, and then doing things that are connected to their values, rather than when people have ongoing anxiety and depression, they spend a lot of time doing things to try and not feel anxious or depressed. And so that's kind of a self-defeating cycle. Whereas I try to get people to focus on what's actually important to them and engage in doing that while sort of working to manage those feelings more effectively. That stops the kind of the disorder part, because the anxiety is not the problem, it's the impact or the effect that it has on people's lives that's really the main problem.
Okay, great. Yeah, those are some very useful points. We actually just had a case here recently, and yeah, so I can relate to some of those things you were saying. That he was feeling really good when he was able to play. It brought something out. If he was alone in his room for long periods, then he would get, become more depressed. And Baba's also highlighted some things with mental disease. So he said that it's important that they don't stay alone, that they're with those like people who love them, care for them. So this is a role that we can play to be that caring person. It's important that they're in a caring environment. Some other thing Baba said, some just kind of practical, even physical things that like taking bath twice a day has an important effect, and diet as well. So that's of course things that we're covering, but yeah, the more lighter type of food, not heavy fried foods, and trying also to engage them in some activity, physical activity, whether some work, or that can be challenging, and you can't, like, of course cannot force, so it's just the kind of gentle encouragement, and try to join them, try for them to join you doing something. And there's a number of other points, but won't carry on. Yeah.
Could I just add one more point? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
One thing I think is really helpful for people who are in the treating role or the coaching role, if you're dealing with someone who has anxiety or depression, as much as we can, if we are not kind of afraid of our own emotions or theirs, then that will be very helpful. If we are kind of nervous or we don't really want to ask them about it and we feel awkward, then that won't be encouraging to them. But where if we can demonstrate, look, I'm not afraid of, if you're crying or, feeling terrible, and you kind of keep relating to them on that human experiential level, just that in itself is quite helpful for people. Yeah, that kind of acceptance.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you.
Didi,
Okay.
Didi Ananda
Yeah.
Sanjana has written a very long message. I think she's copied it from yoga treatments or something, where it's talking about diet for this thing. And you can find, so this will be included in the notes of this program. Yeah. But
I happened
so
to
many
do a
things
talk
can't
on
be.
depression today.
I'm sorry, what was that, Didi?
I happened to do an online talk on depression today, just today, a few hours ago. So
Wow.
that's why.
Well, very good.
Yeah,
So anyway,
good timing.
I don't know. Do you think, Didi, we should read through what you wrote in the chat, or people can?
No, people can read it. And
I
anyway,
don't
we
think
mentioned
so.
some of
There's
these
no
things
time.
already. No.
You could.
It's good enough. Niranjan has mentioned some of this already. Yeah.
Go ahead, Nir.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Well, just one thing, but in my opinion, the most important thing for psychological problems, of course, is kirtan with their arms held up, if as far as they're willing and willing to do it. Go ahead, Niranjan.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll look now at some of the principles of naturopathy and how they can help us. So first one is do no harm. Fundamental one. This is a oath, Hippocratic oath, which doctors take, and it's really important for us also to remember that. So we don't want to be creating other problems, other conditions in our treatment protocols. So it's important to take into account, for example, any contraindications. If someone has heart problems, high BP, so we don't want to be giving them steam bath, but hot foot bath is a good alternative as an example. Don't take 2 steps when you can take 1. That's also important, so as not to cause harm. So that's also important principle in naturopathy. We'll do everything step by step, and this can be, you'll start off with maybe more simpler forms of treatment, asanas, more simple asanas in the beginning, and then see what they're able to do. So one question I have for you again is, how many days of graduated fasting should be prescribed before liquid fasting? Because we don't, of course, in a longer program or even a shorter program, we would normally not go straight into liquid fasting. So how many days of graduated fasting should be prescribed? What should we take into account when thinking about this question? Maybe someone else who hasn't spoken yet.
Anybody is welcome to put it in the chat, or for that matter, even speak it out if there's a bit of silence here. How long should graduated fasting on food, like fruits and vegetables, be preceding the juice fast. Kamalesh has written 2 to 3 days. And Keshava has written 1 to 3 with the question mark. And Didi and Anasanjana says graduated fasting should depend on their conditions and diet that they had before.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say
I would
that
say,
And
is Ramesh.
yeah,
Ramesh
go ahead.
had
Ramesh.
Yeah, I would agree with Didi, that it depends very much on the condition. Do they have a chronic condition? Do they simply want to fast, to cleanse? It depends on so many different factors. If they have a chronic condition, serious chronic decision, then the longer fast is necessary, and then it is good to do a longer graduated fast prior to it, and also sometimes a longer graduated fast after the juice fast. So it really depends very much on the person and what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, that's correct, Ramesh. It really does, depend on the situation, how long they're there for, as well as what they've been. If someone's been eating meat, for example, it's going to be a big change just coming to the graduated fasting, and there may be a lot of changes taking place just by that. And also, it's a really key time to prepare before the liquid fasting. So if we go too quickly into the liquid fasting, then they may have more of these healing symptoms come up. So if another thing to look out for is that they're getting 2 to 3 bowel movements regularly. So that would be something to mark before going into liquid fasting.
if I can add something here, with the diabetes and skin problems, with chronic problems, we may want to do graduated fasting for a very long time, as long as their symptoms go on decreasing. There's no need to get into the juice fasting if by graduated fasting the symptoms keep dropping and dropping, unless, as was the case of one sister who had skin problems. She really wanted to start the juice fasting, even though she was getting better and better and better. Okay, if you insist. But there's no rush.
Yeah, good point. Okay. So second principle is identify and treat causes. So when it's not about just looking at symptoms, or treating symptoms, but it's looking at underlying causes. So, for example, if you think of a headache, so if we just focus on the headache and just apply things to the head, maybe that will help, but often that won't help. So what are possible causes of headaches, for example? Should we look out for? Anyone feel free to share. Don't be afraid to say something.
The question to repeat, Niranjan, he's saying what are the possible causes of headache?
Yeah.
Yeah, headaches are often related to the digestive system, indigestion, constipation, IBS, dehydration. It can be, again, many different issues, but I would say mostly related to digestion and also, of course, stress.
yeah, Baba said when the gas rises, it affects the nerves and
Mm-hmm.
it creates headaches. And yeah, that's stress as well, the mental tension, that also leads on to physical tension. So often there's a lot of tension in the shoulders as well, in the neck muscles. So this also can create headaches. Other things to look out for, blood pressure problems. So very common with low BP that they'll have headaches. I share one experience with another case. They came with headaches. They had stomach issues as well. He was actually head of Coca-Cola within India, one of the key managers in Coca-Cola. And I don't know if that contributed to the problems, but in terms of what he was drinking, but yeah, then he also had some issues with like movement was starting to be affected, so like some nerve problems. So we asked for his like records. He hadn't done that many tests yet, so we said it would be good to have some more tests, but we said, okay, if you want to start, we can start. He'd already actually come, so so we started the detox program, and he was making some progress with like some general ailments or digestive issues were improving. The headache was on and off, but but it wasn't fully clearing, and also his movement was not getting better. In fact, it was starting to get worse, and that was after just about, I'd say, 10 days of treatment. So then I said, now you really should, you know, do some more tests, because it was very unusual. And he went to the nearest city and did some tests, did a MRI, and found out that it was actually, he had a brain tumor. And there was also some issues with water, excess water in the brain. So that's why his, you know, his symptoms were getting worse. And so then he, you know, we gave all the guidelines what we knew, and then he had to leave because it was, you know, it was serious, and he did do operation, and he appreciated a lot the things which he learned, but the point is that it can be sometimes something more serious, and it's not as common, but it can happen. So always to be aware. Okay. So look at, yeah, past medical history, look at all lifestyle factors and emotional and mental patterns. These, if we start to understand these things, these are often the underlying causes of the problems. So it's not only the symptoms. Those symptoms are very useful for us, but it's not that we're just trying to treat the symptoms alone. So, yeah, we need to support the, sorry, I can't see this.
It's saying support the healing power of the body, and then it
Yeah.
says the body is trying to come back to equilibrium.
Yeah, right. So actually the body is always trying to come back to equilibrium. Body is a part of nature, and that's the way nature works. It's always trying to come back into balance. So our role is just to help a bit, help that process. So yeah, my question up, what are the natural ways that the body eliminates toxins? What are the natural ways that it tries to come back into equilibrium. I'm not talking about disease now, just the common ways that the body eliminates toxins. So what are those ways of eliminating toxins? Anyone can unmute and share. Would be great.
Kamalesh has written tongue, breath, sweat, urine, stool, and Keshav added, well, the same points are there. And then Jivanesh has added to those fever.
Okay, so those are more, those are not the natural, the fever is not the natural way. Of course, it's also natural, but not the common way. That's when it becomes more serious. But yeah, those ones are great. I think there's just one more way that, yeah, so mucus is also a common way. The body produces a lot of mucus generally. There's not only like from the nose and throat, so which would be more unnatural, but through the stool. But the level of mucus is what's important. When it becomes excessive, then that's a sign that, you know, there's a more serious condition. So if we look at urine, so yeah, we can tell that toxins are coming out through the color of the urine, how dark it is, or maybe through its smell as well. Then frequency of urine can also be a underlying indication of some issues. And stool, again, color, form, smell, frequency. These are quite straightforward. Skin. This is a good one to point out to people when you're talking about the toxicity of garlic. And Baba explains this as well. He says that actually garlic can work as a medicine, but the way it works is that it's actually a kind of poison that the body tries to get rid of. And in that process of trying to eliminate it, often through the skin, which gives the smell, other toxins can also come out, or other poisons can come out of the body. But of course it has, you know, side effects as well. And so it's not a most commonly recommended medicine. Then yeah, dryness of the skin, itching, spots and rashes, breath, so through the smell. Someone has bad breath, so it can be from the mouth, but it can also be indicating that there's issues in the stomach, so that's something to look out for. Tongue, also really important, so they've got this furry coating, what kind of color it is, and the form of the tongue. That's a whole another area of diagnosis to see if there's any, you know, lines in the tongue that can indicate problems throughout the body, especially in the stomach. Again, it's very common. Yeah, mucus, so again, color, form, and ways of supporting elimination of toxins. So just go through these quickly. Regular intake of liquids, avoid things which dehydrate. This is how to support elimination. So again, yeah, important to avoid tea, coffee, alcohol, of course. Sometimes special herbs may be needed, such as uva ursi. There's cranberries are very important. Baba mentions for urinary problems, bamboo, using bamboo leaves. that helps a lot, as in a tea or soaking them in water. And this is one of the 16 points, use of water, so this also helps to eliminate every last drop. Stool, so we want to be including more fiber. The squatting is, when passing stool, is important. Pre and probiotics, which we mentioned previously. Triphylla isogol, of course, common. That's a whole nother topic to talk about, but won't go into that now. Then sufficient water, work and exercise, also important in getting by. And there's many others, but these are some of the key points. For skin, so dry friction is important, get rid of this dead skin. Sun, mud, steam, all very helpful for skin problems. And increasing water intake, all type of sweating treatments, steam bath, hot foot bath. For the breath, oil pulling, deep breathing, so that can be through exercise, also in meditation. So really expelling the carbon dioxide, more oxygen and prana coming in, and to treat any stomach issues. Tongue, really important to use a tongue cleaner. I'm thinking to add this to the health questionnaire, that are you using a tongue cleaner? In India, most people use a tongue cleaner. I don't know about other countries, but there are cases where people don't use, and it's really important in the detox process, especially when they're on the fasting. They can use it more than one time a day, and they'll feel an immediate relief in clearing their tongue. Then mucus conditions, so more lemon water, liquids, citrus fruits, vitamin C, Nasapana, part of half bath, and neti can also be done with pot. Well, that's Ayurvedic type of practice. Salt water may also be used in that. Okay, now coming back to some points which Baba mentions. Naturopaths do not believe in using medicine. They think that it's possible to cure patients through the gifts of nature only, through earth, water, light, heat, and air, together with a proper diet. I do not deny that it is possible, but it is also often difficult to gradually and completely attune the body to nature. People should recognize that medicine does not cure disease. Rather, nature cures disease with the help of the body's own healing power. Medicine only helps to accelerate the activity and speed of the healing process. So this is, of course, in human society, he's giving a critique of all the different approaches, mentioning the good points, but some points which are maybe not so good. So maybe if one was following a very extreme type of classical naturopathy without not willing to use any sort of medicine. So I was saying it can be helpful, but the key point is that medicine is not that which cures the disease, rather nature cures disease with the help of the body's own healing power. So that is a clear naturopathic idea. But also important, what Baba says here, is that it's often difficult to gradually and completely attune the body to nature. So that is why we encourage people to come for a longer time, as long as they're able to. It depends on the seriousness of the disease, of course. And some people are just not ready, so you have to adjust. But it's important to make them understand that it does take time, but slowly, step by step, they will make improvements. And that's a key mental idea as well, that I'm getting better step by step. I'm getting better and better. That's what we want to be giving them this belief and this encouragement. In cases where disease is caused by unnatural activity, I do not see the harm in using medicines to help nature. Just as earth, water, and air are medicines, are not various types of medicines also prepared by selecting ingredients from nature? Of course, precautions must be taken when using medicines to help the healing power of the body, to ensure that they do not cause physical side effects or psychic disturbances. Where a person has not engaged in unnatural activity, he or she may still contract the disease due to pollution in the air, earth, or water. In such cases, is it possible to tune the body to nature? Furthermore, the diets and lotions prescribed by naturopaths are often very expensive and beyond the means of the poor. So this is something, yeah, we have to be careful. We have to try and make it as accessible to as many people as possible, not only focusing on superfoods, expensive lotions, so many supplements, which some naturopaths promote that kind of approach. So others not so positive about that. Okay, so I also have a question here. So, okay, so we would use medicines, especially herbal medicines in certain cases. So, but why would we not use a lot of medicines, herbal medicines? Why not? Why do we not use excessive amount of medicines? So, what are your ideas on this? There's lots of reasons, but what are some of them? Maybe I have
There's
to...
a saying in Ayurveda that when we are unhealthy, the medicine is of no use, and when we are healthy, medicine is of no need. So that's I think a good rule to go by. But if we use too many herbs, too many medicines, then it can be difficult to know what is actually healing a person. And also there's a tendency for people to become dependent on herbs rather than changing the lifestyle. So in other words, it's generally the lifestyle that has caused the problem. And in order to really change the problem, you have to change your lifestyle. Of course, we could say that herbs can be part of the lifestyle, but in general, the way we live, what we eat, and exercise and so on, or lack of exercise, is more important and more powerful.
Okay, yeah, those are good points. Ramesh, thank you. Maybe ask someone else. Ishana, can I ask you? Oh, she disappeared. Okay, let me. Are you there, Ishana?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, okay, and yeah, go ahead. Anyway.
I don't really like to use many herbs or remedies myself, so I'm completely in line with this question. I'd rather not use
And why
herbs
is that?
and remedies. I like the body to kind of tell me what it's doing on its own, and try and heal myself in a more natural way. In fact, I quit taking my heart medication the first time I I fasted because I was supposed to take my heart medication every day, but that was 12 years ago, and I haven't taken it since, and now I don't have a heart problem.
Oh,
So
very inspiring.
yeah.
Okay,
So
great. Yeah, thanks,
yeah.
Janet, for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, I'll just go through some other points that I've made. So
I'm sorry, Niranjan.
yeah,
So I'm going to interject something here because our global core group, wants me to speak these things, and I also do, and I also want to speak them. And that now this is the third session that we're having out of a minimum of 6, and a lot of effort has gone into creating this program, as well as some detox programs that we've had in the past. And there was something more that we did besides detoxing. And of course, we have a major presence that we have in the internet, and we want to increase that very significantly. We also have made webinars. And but there's much more that we could do than we are doing. And the number one reason, and we are developing our YouTube channel. We've got a number of videos there. Work has been going on significantly, but there's much more that we could do if we had more participants in our team. And I want to make an appeal to those of you who have not joined into and become and help out with some teams according to your own limitation. You may only have very, very little time available, but whatever is there, you can do something. So we will we'll list these teams in our chat more carefully, that you can go through them. But we're looking for volunteers for the promotion and marketing team, which is in charge of making advertising and obvious internet marketing. We need those of you who can help in developing our website and the Facebook management. We have work to do in terms of coordinating and editing videos. There's a number of us who are making videos, and there's a few more who might be able to do so. We have a team. I've mentioned 3 teams so far: promotion and marketing, website and Facebook is the second, video and production is the third, and the fourth is training and evaluation of our graduates and of those who are beginners as well. Fifth is event management. That means that whenever we have a program happening, it needs to be planned in a lot of detail. And the last that we have defined is communicate. Then there's administration and finance, and the last is communication. So as I said, we will mention all of these in our chat, but we very much would like to see that more persons will volunteer. If you have experience in a particular field, that'll be great. If you don't have experience, but you're very interested in that particular aspect of the work, you can still contact us, and I'm sure that there's work that you can also do. What do you all think? Because some of you maybe think that you're too busy to do this, but I think everybody has at least a little bit of time that they can put into this, and and it becomes very interesting. Any field that's not listed here, you can also make a difference. You're welcome. We'd really like to see participation from more of you, and you will find it interesting. Can I hear some comments? Anyone can comment. Do you think it's important what I spoke just now?
Yes, Dadaji, it's important.
Okay, I think we're just looking for yes answers. Wait a second, there's some stuff that's come here in the chat. Okay, Dada Sheila Bhadranan is listing them all. Yes, and Keshav is saying yes. Jivanesh is volunteering. Keshav is asking. Please volunteer if possible. I can volunteer time, and so on. So please do respond if you can. Help with video work if you can. Sarita is saying she's happy to help with proofreading and editing. Very good. Very, very good. Great. So let's see. Kamalesh, I'd like to contribute just finding the right place. Good. Okay. So, can anyone write articles? Okay, this will go on, but we need to get back to Niranjan's program. So let's deal this in the chat that we have of this course, this online training course. Thank you very much. Please go ahead, Niranjan. Niranjan, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, so other points about why not to use excessive natural herbs and remedies. So not to create dependency also. It's less expensive. Baba points out that that's also important to take that into account. May not be easy to find as well. Some of these herbs may not be easily accessible. To simplify the process, the more we can make things simple for people, the more likely to follow. May create side effects if excessive. That can also happen. So treat the whole person. So this means all aspects of the person, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We're looking at the whole, not just treating the physical side, but everything which could be contributing to causing some imbalance. And spiritual here, because the spiritual is so important. It has an effect on the mental, on the emotional, on the physical even. As in kirtan, it's kirtan, meditation. These are key things.
Okay, Niranjan, Niranjan, we have about 15 more minutes left, just to let you know, a time check.
We have till 7:30, right? Oh no.
No.
7. Oh,
Just till
okay.
7 your time.
Okay. Let's see how much we'll get through. Okay. So, yeah. What does it say? Sorry, I can't see that.
It says allopathy, Ayurveda.
To the top left.
On the top left, it says not just the disease or its symptoms.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. And this is, Baba will mention this as well. So Baba says allopathy, Ayurveda, and Hekemi. This is a traditional herbal type of practice, especially I think amongst Muslims. Use strong medicines and also poison as a medicine. Although their methods of diagnosis and remedies differ, in this method of treatment, the selection of medicine involves great risk because more emphasis is placed on the indications of the disease than on those of the patient, and because of the possibility of causing death. So, of course, that's quite extreme, but that can happen. The more stronger medicine you'll use, the more risk. The principles, application, and philosophy of homeopathy are completely different from the above medical treatments. Homeopathy treats the symptoms of the patient, not the disease or its symptoms. So there is very little possibility of causing harm, even if the diagnosis is not quite correct. Now, Baba's talking about homeopathy, but it applies also to naturopathy, that because we're looking at the patient as a whole, not just their disease or their symptoms, but what mental aspects are there as well, and all aspects of lifestyle as well. So yeah, that's really important. Doctor with powers of observation and a subtle sense of discrimination can easily prescribe remedies according to the patient's symptoms. Another speciality of homeopathy is that medicines are administered in subtle doses, not in the form of strong, such the patient's body as well as in his or her mental sphere. Again, this isn't related to homeopathy, but again, it's really important to be a good naturopath, to also have these good powers of observation, subtle sense of discrimination. We're looking for patterns of illness, patterns of mental processes, and we'll try and not apply a too strong form of treatment especially in the early stages, if it's not necessary. For example, with Kalema, if someone's getting a lot of bowel movements, it's very deep, they've resolved a lot of things, it may not be necessary to give them a Kalema. It's not always compulsory, just as an example. So in many cases, it will be necessary because of it. It can help in deeper detox. Yes,
Can I add something here? Yeah, and that is, as those of you who have been doing this, who have been trying to consult, do diagnosis, so on, I'm sure that in each and every one of your cases, you have seen that your powers of observation, your subtle sense of discrimination, your ability to perceive the problems of the person and to think what can be done, just goes on increasing over time. So this really comes with experience. And so if you feel that you don't have this kind of power of observation, etc., don't worry about it. Start, and step by step, it'll come.
Yeah, thank you, Dada. The greatest difficulty with homeopathy is that it is based upon the subtle intellect of the doctor, and to achieve such a degree of subtlety, regular sustained effort is absolutely essential. So just like Dada says, though, don't worry, just it needs a effort, sustained effort. The subtle intellect means it's kind of coming more in the realm of intuition. And so sometimes we won't know what is the right approach to take, but if we, in our meditation, maybe we'll get some inspiration. If we connect with Baba, talk with Baba, then he can also guide us if there's some way we're feeling stuck. Did you want to share?
I need to interject something, because homeopathy in this sense is different than naturopathy. It requires really very, very subtle intellect and highly detailed training. Naturopathy, in the lifestyle naturopathy especially, it is much easier for us to do the prescription work. Of course, we need to apply our mind subtly, but it's not. But homeopathy is much, much more challenging. The number of good homeopaths, the percentage of good homeopaths, it's a much more rare thing than good naturopaths who are at least trying to do things with lifestyle and fasting and so on. You agree, Niranjan?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so The welfare of the patient should be the main aim of the medical profession, regardless of the philosophical or logical ramifications of a particular system of medicine. Doctors may find it somewhat difficult to work with such a principle because it is unreasonable to expect them to be experts in all the medical systems. So, yeah, we're trying to learn as much, but at the same time, it can work to include other things, like homeopathy can go along with naturopathy, especially if you can find a good naturopathic doctor, or acupuncture is another one that Baba even placed together with naturopathy, so that can be very useful. And okay, so this is another key principle to teach. And what are we teaching? It's that they become master of their own health. So this is a really key difference also, you could say, that we're really encouraging, yeah, we're calling them students, not patients. We want them to learn as much that they can apply it in their own life later. And doctor itself comes from the Latin docere, to teach, so it's very much in line with this idea. Yeah, the importance of lifestyle changes, that's something very important to teach, and that they take self-responsibility also, as much as we're there to support them and encourage them, but we also want them to take responsibility for their own health, and that it is within their own hands also to get better. I don't know what these red lines are. I don't know if you're seeing these red lines.
We just have about 5 minutes left now.
Okay. Last point is principle is emphasize prevention. So as we know, prevention is better than cure. Need for sorry, what does it say?
Periodical detoxing.
Periodical detoxing, yes. So yeah, I often say it's like a car that needs to go for servicing. Our body also needs regular servicing. So even if you don't have serious disease, even if anything's recommended to do that periodical detoxing. And by following this approach, then we'll stop problems from getting bigger and bigger, prevent the onset of new disease as well. It's very common, for example, here diabetes is so prevalent, and people often just treat it with just by taking allopathic medicine, and maybe for a long time they'll not feel much change like that. It's just controlling the sugar, but it's not dealing with the underlying problem. It's Baba has mentioned this imbalance in the Manipur chakra, weakness of the related organs, the liver, the pancreas. So we really have to deal with it at that level, through the asanas, through the diet, through the do's and don'ts. In yogic treatment, there's that, you know, Baba first mentions the asanas. Those are really key. And then diet is next. So that's also a major thing. And after that, the do's and don'ts. And only after that, he mentions the remedies that can also support. So yeah, it's this step-by-step approach which can help. Okay, so these are the 6 principles we've covered. Do not harm, identify and treat causes, support the empowered body, treat the whole person, teach be the master of your own health, emphasize prevention. There's a bit more that I wanted to cover. So I think I'm just going to skip to the last points, and maybe in another class we can come back to this. Or let's just go through this quickly, please. So positive mental outlook. These are the so the steps that we would take. So the first is really important, is a positive mental outlook and appropriate loving support, a conducive environment. So I would say this is the most basic thing, both as what we have to provide, but also that they have to come with that kind of readiness also, like that positivity, that if that isn't there, that unwillingness to change, you know, if they're being forced to take treatment, usually it's not the case, but occasionally it does happen that they haven't chosen to take this step. So then it's not going to work. So, and Baba talks about this, that the most important aspect of healing is both the patient's own mind, as well as the faith which he has, the care that he feels he's getting from the doctor, as well as the environment. So here he's mentioned the healing power of nature cures disease. Medicine only helps nature. The mind of the patient helps to activate the healing power of nature. If the doctor, in whom the patient has complete faith, prescribes water instead of medicine, the patient will be quickly cured. But if the patient regards the doctor as a quack, the disease will not be cured, even if the purest medicines known to medical science are prescribed and properly administered. It is obvious then that the disease is actually cured by the power of the mind, the medicine being secondary. So this is such a powerful statement by Baba. And it's really important in prescription, in consultation.
Which is one reason why naturopathy is so effective, because as they're doing detoxing or any of these treatments, almost everyone starts to feel that they're improving. And when they start feeling that they're improving, then they automatically think they're getting better. And so the mind moves along. It gets more and more positive. That's a big part of the reason why what we're doing is easy.
One way in which it is challenging, at least here, I don't know in other places, is that often they'll come to us as a last resort. So they'll come in the last stages of their disease. So they've tried the allopathy, they've tried Ayurveda, they've tried many different things, and they're trying naturopathy as a last resort. So of course, in many cases we can help them, but it's much more challenging. And of course, it would be much better if they came to us as a first line of treatment. But that's the way it is at the moment, and that's why, yeah, through education, this will change.
Niranjan, our time is used up. Can you tie things up?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, there'd be more that I would cover, but just to tie things up, I would say, you know, Baba mentions that we can't neglect either the body or the mind. Both are really important. And that's what we have to bear in mind when doing consultation, when doing treatments, to include the whole package. Like, it's really important to include the kirtan, meditation, asanas, as well as all the physical treatments, the diet. and the way in which it is done is also really important. To do it with
Niranjan, you can
yeah.
stop your screen share.
Okay. Yeah. It's the way it's done, really with the caring feeling, the love. That's what's going to make a big difference. That's what will give faith in the person that, okay, I can get better. And this person really does care. That's a big difference in naturopathy, this time spent in speaking with the person, getting to understand them as a whole. That really makes a difference, and that instills a belief in the person that, yes, I can get better. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for bearing with me. This was the first time I've actually given a PowerPoint presentation like this, and I've just using Zoom on the laptop for the first time. But thankfully, connection was all right.
Yeah, you
And,
did, Niranjan. Thank
and
you.
also,
Go ahead.
also just welcome everyone here as well. If you're able to come to Ananda Nagar, yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy the vibrations, and we're running a few different programs. Of course, a 1 month training is coming up. So if you know anyone who's might be interested in that, or if you want to come along also as a refresher, that's also great. And we're having a tour of the Tantra pits as well in November with Gunamuktananda, so that should also be really inspiring.
So
Yeah.
Tantra Pitas will be an important part of our program also during the 1 month training, September.
Right. Yes. Definitely.
Thank you all. You have your sincerity is what really matters here. And Niranjan has done a great job, and we will continue to do this. Shila Bhadranan, what is the for? And many of you are saying thank you. We appreciate that in the chat. I see a lot of it there. Shila Bhadranan, what is the next module? Not in my mind right now. Do you recall?
I think it's
Okay, but there very good modules are coming up.
Sister Kanika. Sister Kanika will be doing the next one, I believe.
That's maybe about treatment, is it?
Or that a mantra.
Dada Mantra Healing Symptoms on August 6th.
Stimulation.
Okay.
Dada Mantra Healing Symptoms on August 6th, Saturday.
How to deal with the it's a very major part of our work, and it's something which, even if you're not running any program, you'll be able to help so many people. Thank you so much, and looking forward to many of you, as far as you can, participating in our team, and looking forward to seeing you in so many different ways online. We will make our online work. Actually, I have some really interesting things that I could tell you about that we're working on putting together, but we'll leave it for now. Yeah. So, but let it be said that the future looks very, very bright for our work. Thank you so much. Have a good the rest of the day, the evening. Thank you so much, Niranjan.
Thank you, everyone. Namaskar.
Thank you, Niranjan. Good job, buddy.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Are we closing with a kirtan or?
Yeah.
You can. Yes, do that. Kevalam Bhavanam 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 Kevalam Bhavanam
Namaskar to all, and Pampita Baba Ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Thank
Namaskar.
you.